Welcome back to another episode of the Seezoned Crew. We're here again with our series, Building an AI Virtual Assistant. Today, we're looking at it from a sales perspective. If you've been following these series, we've started off with we actually started off with a product perspective, then a data perspective, then a design perspective. Today, we're with a sales perspective. Feel free to go back to those episodes and check them out if you haven't. And today, for the sales perspective, we have with us David Del Pino. He's our head of expansions in the European markets. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Very nice to have you. I think just to start off, it would be really nice. I've talked about myself quite a bit in the previous episodes. Maybe if you can do a little bit of an introduction of what you do and how the journey has been so far.
Yeah, so I've been here for 2 years already at the company at Seez. I joined May 2023. It's actually going to be 2 years already now. So I'm expansion manager for Europe. And it's been, quite a good ride so far. I've been leading on the expansion of the business into different markets in Europe, but also, especially lately, supporting on different partnerships we have in different markets. We talk in Europe, but also internationally. We're having some companies kind of supporting us, launching the business in other places. And I've been kind of leading on that from a commercial and kind of operational perspective. So you're enjoying the ride so far.
Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about what you used to do before you joined Seez?
So I've been in the automotive industry already for, I would say, 8 to 9, 10 years. Okay. I actually started my career as a consultant in PwC, but then I quickly jumped into the automotive industry. And I used to work for Volkswagen Group in Spain for the OEM kind of national company, especially for Audi in different departments. I started my career there into the after-sales department, but then I went into the network development, also working on the used car business, kind of things. And then I went into this kind of startup environment as well in Spain. I used to be the CEO or country manager for Cazoo in Spain, a UK-based business. And then I joined Seez, so it's been already a good journey in the automotive.
A lot of people recognize Cazoo from the jerseys.
Exactly, I have one of them already.
So for Seez, like you were saying, you head up expansions. You also work with like our partners, right? And that's part of your role, making sure that Seezar is reaching the maximum amounts of people. And you've really been on the front lines of like introducing AI into ecosystems in the automotive space. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, is AI a nice to have, a must have? What is your perception? What have you been seeing in the AI space in automotive over these last couple of years?
Sure. So I think there's been a significant change, especially I think over the past year or something. I remember when we started like pitching our AI solutions to dealerships and OEMs, we needed to like spend some time on explaining like really what AI does and how it works and why it's important for retailers and automotive retailers to look at the AI and introduce it into the business. And they were really like not knowing how they could benefit from the AI. While now I think since end of last year, they really feel more comfortable about AI and what it does for the business. And they proactively looking for solutions on that. So you can totally skip that part of the meeting talking about what the AI does and how it works and all that stuff. And you can get, straight to what you're offering, what your solution is actually doing for them. And they proactively looking for not just like one AI solution, but I think there's an opportunity to become like this 360 kind of company offering like a complete suite of AI solutions covering different use cases and different processes for dealerships and OEMs as well. So I think they're becoming, they feeling that urgency of actually like doing something on AI way more.
And then when they see it in action, does their perception shift? How does it usually what is usually their reaction when they see like Seezar at work or when they actually test it out?
So I think they're becoming like as everyone else, I believe, like, more used to like using ChatGPT kind of things. And obviously when they see that really working for their business and especially integrated with what they can offer to customers. We're talking, for instance, like offering their inventory, like their real stock to customers and putting it in front of the customer when they ask for something very specific. Or the ability for the AI to not just come up with actual recommendations, but understanding like, this is the lifestyle this customer is having, and this is how we can transform that lifestyle into actual criteria for the AI to put options in front of the customer. I think they're really loving that, like kind of visual effect of the AI, putting things in front of the customer in a very like easy way, right? So,
I mean, I think that's a trend, and we talk about this all the time. FYI, marketing and sales work quite closely. So I get to work with David quite a bit, but I think the whole idea is how when you see it in action, how does that actually transform the experience? And I think there is a little bit of a shift in terms of like what the experience for a customer should be like, right? So what is that baseline?
Yeah, and we need to be educational as well with dealerships, right? So they get, I would say, the ultimate goal of introducing AI, and they get this chat solution is going to be helping us on being, offering a better customer experience, all of that. But when it comes to like really, like, I would say, benefit from all of the capabilities of the AI, you need to be super educational with them on what are the things you can optimize, being very close to them on these are the changes that we will encourage you to do, to actually improve how your customers are going to be engaging with the chat and maximize also the investment you're doing in the solution, right? So they feel very comfortable with the AI solution, but the way it actually helps them and how they can optimize it, we need to be very like close to the dealership, to the OEM, on helping them get the most benefit out of it.
I mean, it makes complete sense. You're also like on the front line talking to these customers all the time, getting from them that input, that feedback, and then also telling them, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. Is there like features that you see that are going to be added or have been added to the product recently? We always talk about, like, even when we were talking about this in different segments, the design segment, the product segment, and how we always listen to our partners, how we listen to our customers of what they're looking for. Is there any like top requests that you've seen as a trend? Where do you see the development of the product going? Obviously, we try to take input from across the business, from our partners, before we make those decisions. So what have you seen as the way moving forward?
I think one of the great things we always get is we get so many requests from customers, which is great.
Maybe
because
too
that
many.
means they actually using the solution and they see a
100%.
lot of potential on optimizing different things. I think there's a magic word, which is roadmap, right? So what's coming on the roadmap? This is the trendy question we always get asked for. And definitely we listen to not just customers, we listen to partners as well, because they actually know the market better than we do sometimes, right? So something we get obsessed with, and I'm talking product a bit here, but we really get obsessed with time to respond, right? So response time from the AI. Obviously, this is AI, so one of the main benefits from not actually having a human responding is you can react faster to customer questions, right? So from a product perspective, we continually try optimizing like LLM models we use to make sure we always get better on that sense. In terms of what's coming next, or what are the main things that customers are asking for, I would say definitely in some markets, multi-channel, which basically means not just having like the AI responding on the chat on the website, but also having the ability to have the AI on other channels like WhatsApp, we're talking SMS, email, all of that. We're very close to be there. So that's, I think, going to be one of the best releases we're going to be doing. And then obviously data and KPIs and kind of providing customers the ability to track, what's going on with the solution in real time. They don't need to rely on us to tell them, hey, this is working good. This is how many charts you're having. So we did a release not long ago, a month or 2 months ago, which is actually having an analytics section as part of the dashboard we provide them with. And now they can be autonomous on going into the dashboard, checking activity. They can even check where the car is getting more clicks from the chat, right? So even benefit from that to actually make business decisions on what cars they need to look for when it comes to sourcing and all of that. So we're listening to them, and there's actually heavy activity on product developments.
I think there's quite a bit more, but we don't want to get in trouble with our product team, so we'll just keep it there for what we're going to announce in terms of what's coming on the roadmap. But obviously, like you said, being able in terms of analytics to look at and reflect and then react is huge. And then multi-channel doesn't just open the door to additional platforms, but it also opens the door and is like a prerequisite for some of the other features that we want to understand a lot.
Exactly.
So I definitely think, the solution is always evolving. And yeah, I think even from a customer perspective, like you were talking about a time to respond and stuff like that, we sometimes go through hundreds of thousands of data points before we come up with a recommendation, if there's like a huge inventory that we have to go through, etc. So something that is processing that much data, making that faster, but it's I think pretty impressive what it can go
and
through.
That's actually a good point, and it's something we need to also pay so many attention when it comes to talking to dealers and OEMs, making them understand how many data we need to process to actually provide a response, right? It's not something like this that you get straight away. You need to look into the inventory, you need to search for cars based on the lifestyle or criteria or whatever the customer just mentioned, right? So doing all of that in 7-8 seconds, it's impressive. And if it normally takes a bit more, or if it could take a bit more, we need to make them understand how long will it take for a human to do the same, right?
That's crazy.
And that's absolutely crazy.
I think, yeah, almost impossible for a human to do it. But I think when Hussein was here talking about the design perspective, he also talked about how we communicate what the bot is doing or what the AI is doing back to the customer by telling, okay, now I'm fetching images. Now I'm looking through the data. And that kind of bridges the gap, lets people know that, okay, this is what it's processing. And it's very important that
and you get to know there's something going on, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if
yeah.
you're talking to a human,
yeah.
exactly, if you're talking to a human on WhatsApp, for instance, you just see typing, then he stops typing,
Yeah.
then he's typing again, right? And you're
Happens
like,
to all of us.
are you sure you're typing, right? So
I saw you typing. Did you forget something you wanted to say?
exactly. So yeah, that's something we put a lot of efforts on, and trying to like maintain or keep the customer informed of this is what's going on, and we're gonna be replying you very, very soon.
And so talking to these customers all the time, obviously you also talk to new customers all the time. You're pitching Seez, or you're introducing our partners to new material, new updates, etc. And they're then pitching Seez. Obviously you're doing it in Europe. You're head of expansion. So I think one of your challenges in particular is looking at how you have to tailor this to the different markets that we're talking to. Can you run me through that a little bit? Like, what are you seeing is the difference between certain markets? How can we offer a little bit of insight in terms of like what differs and what are we really looking for?
So I think solution-wise and product-wise, we're selling the same, and yeah, we could be tailoring the solution per market a bit, like trying to just make sure like we adjust the solution to the market requirements. But normally what we sell is a standalone, right? So it's the same solution. What we do is, and there's one example I always talk about, which is Germany, for instance, right? So the way we pitch the solution or the value proposition we put like the focus on when it comes to pitching the solution, it could be different depending on the market. So in Germany, for instance, the labor market is quite difficult. So it's difficult to find people when you need to like hire new staff. And then when you find them, you need to train them, right? You need to spend some time. So between hiring to training to getting people like really engaged with the business and actually adding value, it could take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So having a chat solution using AI is actually really beneficial for dealerships, because I'm not saying they don't need to hire people, but probably they will get less questions from customers for very easy topics, right, that we can cover with the chat solution. So they can just actually benefit from that instead of going into the labor market and spending 3, 4, 5, 6 months into looking for the right candidate. Maybe they run the decision and they need to go hire another one. So just understanding how the market, and not really like automotive, but the market in general is actually working and how many things they have impacting the business. It helps you like position the solution in one or another way. And then obviously you need to try adapt to the customer. There's customers in Germany, for instance, as well, that they don't want to have the chat solution 24/7 because they have a huge team and they want to just have the chat after hours, which is something obviously they can do, right? So we need to really understand what the challenges they're facing, and then depending on those challenges, we kind of position the solution in one way or the other. And then obviously when we have partnerships, that's really, making the difference, because they know the market better than we do, and we can anticipate some of these challenges as well before actually going into the market and pitching the solution.
Yeah. And I mean, we always see it like every market also wants like a use case or an example in their own market, right? So there's that side to the approach where we need to like show in market how it's effective. And obviously we're very lucky that we have a product that can speak multiple languages, so that's covered. At least it's very easy, but there is sometimes some challenges there with having to train data on slightly different languages. Is there anything else you see, or maybe some resistance or skepticism in these markets that you can recognize, and then how do we overcome that, etc.?
So I think it's all down to confidence as well, right? So if you obviously you might be having like hundreds of clients in different international markets, and you could be saying your solution is supporting more than 15, 16 languages, but if it's not supporting the language, or if it's not live yet in the language that they actually using in that market, they feel like you might not be ready for the market, right? So one of the main obsessions we have, or I have, when it comes to going into a new market is just finding the first customer, and this is probably the hardest thing to do, right? Finding the first customer. So we need to be a bit more creative and original on trying to secure the first client. It doesn't need to be huge. We just need a client to show dealers, hey, we're ready for the market. We're working already. They put in the confidence on us. And then once you get the first customer, I would say it becomes easier because then they can go and check that website themselves, and even they can engage with that customer and asking them, hey, why did you decide to go with this solution? They have good words on us, and that's helping us getting better traction as well. But getting the first one is, I would say, the biggest challenge.
I mean, we work on this together sometimes, right? In terms of like finding that first customer. And then I even have some input on this, but like to find that first customer, we have to be present in like some local events sometimes, right? We have to find them and get in front of them, find people who are local to the market. Like, what is our approach to that? Can you maybe expand a little bit more on like what we've been doing to be able to find that first customer?
Yeah, so I would say it depends if there's a market, or it is a market with where we have a partnership or not. So if we have a partnership, obviously it's easier to get that first customer, because they already have relationships and they already have confidence from customers on just signing up for something new, right? When it comes to markets where we go indirect, it's a bit more challenging. So what we always try to do is, obviously we need someone local from the market, actually speaking the language, and having relationships already, even if it's from another company he was working at or she was working at, but he already, had that confidence from that dealership.
Knows the market.
Knows the market, but more importantly, I think the market know him as well, or know her as well, right? So even though he's not in the same company now, they feel like they can trust this guy, they can trust this lady, because they've been working with him or with her in the past, right? So I think this is actually very, very important. So benefit from, or trying to capitalize personal relationships and hire someone which is having actually like a great network in the market, because that way we can react faster and we can kind of achieve that first customer thing faster, right? And then definitely doing PR. So this is something actually we're working on now for certain markets, doing PR to make sure when we reach out to customers and they listen to our name, they can go on Google and they can find actually like, press releases talking about us, not just
in their language as well.
Exactly, not just obviously we have so many like press releases in English and in different markets, but they can find one in their local language as well, from a local agency or local publication, which is very important. And then being at the events, because obviously doing like calls and email follow-ups and all of that, that's also something we do for sure, and it's possible. But when you are at the event and you actually get to see people face to face, you can speed up the process of convincing someone or just agreeing for a meeting, right?
100%.
Plus, always, we do like obviously online calls and all of that, but having the ability to say, hey, I'm near you, like I'm in the same country where you are, I'm happy to go to your office, let's find the time we can all have a coffee, right? So having someone there available to do that, that's actually super important.
Someone and I think you hit the nail on the head when you opened this part with saying like it's all about building that confidence, right? I think most businesses that are online have this disconnect, right? It's not like you can go touch feel them. So they're an online business. We all have a little bit of skepticism at the beginning towards any new online business that we haven't heard of. So that's why marketing and branding is a little bit important, but also putting your name out there and then finding ways to transfer some. I mean, that's why some people use influencers, right? You're transferring confidence. We're doing it by finding knowledgeable people in the market who have networking and who have connections to build that confidence. So it's really it revolves mostly around building confidence, right? And giving them the confidence that we're in the market if they need to.
100%. Exactly. And we don't just build like a customer and provider relationship. We try to build a confidence relationship, right? And when we have a customer, we try to be nice with them, like we try to help them, and advise them, not just on what we do and what we offer them and what we providing them, but also like on their business. If they have any situation what we can help them with, we're there to do that, right? If they're having a bad time or challenging times and they cannot continue with the service for some reason, we try to be nice, because we know that customer is going to be like, like considering that quite good in a good way. And we have cases where customers, they needed to probably like stop doing something with us, but then they came back when the business was ready to do it again, right? So I think that's actually proving the approach we're having into like building this customer relationship is actually very, I think, unique in that sense. We're not just willing to sell the solutions, we're willing to build on the relationship.
I think that's huge. Not to mention that also where we're trying to have like integration be quite simple, not be very difficult, right? So it doesn't need too much of like a baseline requirement. But obviously some businesses are just not in a phase where they're ready, where their ecosystem is in a place that can actually deliver value with our solution. So we try to bridge that gap. You know what I mean? Like,
and we need to be honest as well, right? Sometimes they just building a new website because the website they have is not having like the content enough, or the power enough to actually deliver the experience they want to deliver, or they want to offer to customers. So if that's actually the case, we try to wait for them. Like, obviously we know our solution is going to be working way better if the website is better, right? So also for us, it's actually better to wait and just make sure when they're ready, they can come on board, right?
100%, because it learns off of the website.
Exactly.
So if the website is better, then, and obviously we see these challenges sometimes we communicate them. It's like being open and honest, like you're saying. And like, obviously all of these different markets have different behaviors. I think you touched on this a little bit, but like, what do the partnerships give us that you think we couldn't have done by ourselves, or like what added value is there? I think you already touched on some confidence stuff, but is there anything else that you think the partnerships deliver in terms of value?
So definitely on the more commercial like angle, I would say like speed on the go-to-market strategy. So obviously we can grow faster with partnership because of the confidence they have, but also because they have already like built pipeline, which is not just having customers or dealers they know, but also having dealers they work with already, right? So it's easier to upsell something, right, to a customer, to existing customer, than just trying to secure a new customer, right? So from that perspective, and we have several examples in Mexico, for instance, where we managed to capitalize like the partnership relationship in a very, very fast way. So that's one of the things. And then I would say being ready for launching is also very, very important. So obviously when we get into a market and we go direct, we need to hire people, we need to understand the market, all of those things. While with the partnership, we can already prepare in advance for that, right? And try to be ready for the launch of the solution in that market, not just waiting until we actually pitch it, but we can understand that behavior earlier, right? And then obviously getting feedback on the ongoing customers as well, because they have more resources, they have huge teams like working on key account management and all of that with customers. So listening to the customers and to the feedback they have, and trying to integrate that or implement that into the roadmap we're working on is also one of the I think main benefits of having that partnership relationship.
100%. And is there any I think examples or instances of these relationships really flourishing that pop into your head, like something that maybe is an interesting story, or like I think some of like these bigger groups that now we're working with, like it was really interesting how the success of like Seezar with one kind of brought on the rest. Is there anything that pops into your head that's like kind of interesting?
So we have so many, like I would say, so many examples of dealerships just starting to work with us on Seezar, on the chat solution, with one of their websites. But obviously they big groups, and then they start like rolling it out to other websites as well, especially in huge markets. And also they see opportunities to do the same in other markets, because obviously dealer groups they work sometimes like across different markets, right? So that's also we can benefit from, and having a relationship with not just the groups but also like dealer associations, for instance, which is something sometimes very hard to get to, right? And those partnerships that we have, or those partners that we have, they've been building on those relationships with those dealer associations for a long time, right? So going into those associations and then opening up the door for other opportunities with the dealers from different brands, that's something we could do definitely, but it's actually going faster and smoother with a partner in place.
I mean, you have the very difficult job of having to probably juggle a lot of different partners at the same time while the product is evolving. So like, what do you do to make sure that everyone is still aligned with us while we're rolling new things out?
So I would say we need to be super close to the partner, but not just to the partner. So there's partners we have, and they have multiple teams across different markets as well, right? So we need to be close to each of those teams in every single market, because their market is different, and what they hear from the customers is different. What they expect from the solution is it could be different sometimes as well. So one of the things we do is I'm having, for instance, weekly calls with every single team from every single partner we have. And that's obviously involving different time zones and different markets, and it's driving us crazy sometimes, but it's super important. Like kind of building the same way we build the relationship, the confidence with the customer. We want to build those spaces with partners where we can actually exchange whatever it is, right? So we're doing weekly calls, we cover the operational stuff that we need to work on, or we're working on, like onboarding. They share with us other opportunities they're working on, so we cover the commercial pipeline as well, forecast, all of that. And I would say more than working on that stuff, it's important because we get to build like a very close relationship. So they feel comfortable to call me then at any time, just to raise any concern they have, or just to talk to me about an opportunity they're working on. So we actually become the same team at some point, right? And that's super important. And I think it's part of the success. Then obviously on a more like high level or management level, we also having like regular catch-ups and calls on like the forecast and the objectives that we have together, and planning for what we want to do next together as well, which is very important. But I think operationally speaking, like being close to every single team and also building processes with them, right? Because the process which is working for the team in one market might not be working for the other in other markets. So I think one of the challenges we have is trying to put processes in place which is working for us, right? But it's working for them as well when it comes to updating bots or changing content, things like that.
Sorry for interrupting you. I think it's not even market specific. It's like dealer specific or sometimes partner specific, where they have their own processes. And I think even, I always reflect on Seezoned, which is another one of our products, in terms of like how we integrate closely to understand what those processes are and how we can make sure that we add the maximum amount of value and make it compatible, right? And we already have that culture of like overworking a little bit or being always open to communication and jumping in as quickly as possible. Is there any market or country that you feel has like a different reaction or has been able to take like Seezar, has different reactions to Seezar? Like what I'm looking at here is like, has its impact been strong or unique in any different market, or is it roughly the same?
So I think more than impact, I think it was more related to how ready the market was to actually receive like and adopt this kind of solution. So especially, I mean, obviously we kind of kicked off with that market, but in the UK, for instance, I think they were ready already earlier to actually adopt AI solutions, and they understood earlier what it means and what's the value it can add to their business. When it comes to impact, I think it's pretty much very similar across different markets. What they expect from the solution is obviously different, right? Some of them they more focus on like the lead generation stuff, while others they more focus on the customer experience they can offer customers, or covering those after hours, where there's no one from their side actually able to support any customer and providing any response. But when it comes to like impact and the delivery or the results we're delivering, I think it's pretty much the same in every market. But they were early adopters. I think in the UK, for instance, they were early adopters in some way.
Is there a reason for them to be like more ready? Is a dealership over another dealership?
I think the industry there has been more digital historically. Like automotive industry in the UK has been more digital, mainly because they had like things like Kazoo, for instance, or Auto Trader, or this kind of companies, right? So they more used to like digitize the business and invest in digital solutions. The other markets in Europe, I think they were like going or following kind of what UK was doing in that sense. And now we're seeing I think very standard, kind of digital adoption in different markets in Europe. But I think they were one of the first to actually do that.
And this brings me back to something that I think I've said on a couple of episodes before. If you can remember which episode, put it in the comments. But like something I mentioned before is at the end of the day, the automotive industry is like there's only the OEMs or a certain number of manufacturers, globally, and kind of their processes then permeate across the globe, right? And so they have to put in sometimes some checks to make sure that the experience is similar, but then there's a lot more friction and bureaucracy, and then being able to act on like new digital technology and stuff like that. So there's that impact of our industry as a whole. I think automotive, real estate is also a big industry, big investment, but then it's very local. Like every country has a bunch of different developers, right, that have their own autonomy. Whereas in automotive, it's all then goes back to the manufacturers and the OEMs, and it's just a certain number of them.
I think especially lately, because of all of the challenges I think the industry is facing when it comes to EVs and profitability and competition, from Chinese brands and all of that. And it's still uncertain, right? What's going to happen and what's the impact, like tariffs and all that is going to happen or is going to happen in the industry as well, right? So we'll not touch on that today, but let's keep it for now.
It might have not be relevant by the time the episode comes out. It might be very relevant. So
exactly. We'll see. We'll monitor the situation. But I think there's been for financial reasons, the need, especially in Europe, for dealerships to come together. So there's been a lot of acquisitions from bigger dealer groups to smaller dealer groups, and they become even bigger, right? So I think they're now in a position where they have more power to negotiate and to push the manufacturer or the OEM into doing their own projects, right, and making their own decisions. So I think that's actually taking them to, being a bit more strategic on the decisions they make, and they're starting to make their own decisions on, hey, this is what we want to do in this, on that, and they've been feeling the urgency to become more digital as well. I mean, not talking about Seezar now, but in other solutions, Seezar, which is part of the solutions we sell as well.
Yeah.
We've been doing projects with very huge dealerships in Europe on helping them landing an e-commerce solution for the used car business, for instance, right? Because they felt like they needed to react, they needed to do something different to, kind of be different in the market and try to financially survive as well, increase profitability, and used car business especially is normally more profitable than the new cars business, right? Especially with the agency model as well, which is something going around in the industry. They need to find ways to increase profitability and kind of generate more revenues from other products as well, not just selling new cars.
Yeah.
So I think that's pushing them into making more decisions on that sense.
Very interesting. And so, like, are there trends that we see in the global markets? Like, it doesn't even need to be limited to Seezar. Like, we can talk about all of our products, but also Seezar, I think, has some interesting applications now with us as well. We teased this a little bit last time, but there's Seezar Q coming. There's a couple of other things that I think there are trends in the global automotive industry. What do you think they're looking like? Like, where are you seeing the automotive industry in 5 to 10 years? What major changes do you see are going to happen from your perspective? Where are we going to be? Like, what is 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
It's difficult to guess. I mean, I remember my time at Audi, especially in after sales, with EVs, coming and all of that. We were already working on projects to try release new revenue streams, right, for the business. So obviously we knew, like, in after sales, having EVs is going to impact already the revenue and the margins and all of that. So we need to try be more creative on releasing new stuff, right? So I think it will all go down to trying to be different from the competition, even more than what they used to be in the past, offering customers a better, like, experience when they engage with you, and it really impacts everything, right? It impacts, like, the experience they have on the website, but it also impacts the experience they have when they go into the workshop and they engage with you, right? So I think at the end of the day, the one making the customer experience smoother is going to be the one kind of winning the game, right? Because you go to a showroom because you like the car they have, but you stay in that showroom because you like how they treat you, right? So and what they offer you when you have an issue, right? And we've all had experiences on that sense, right? And if you don't have a good experience, you may change to another dealership, to another showroom, or to another workshop or something, right? So I think it's all gonna go down to that, and what kind of digital solutions you offer for customers to engage with you. So I think one of the examples is, especially I think our generation, we don't like phone calling dealerships to work, to kind of set up a workshop appointment. We just want to do it online, midnight, or when you want, right? So the ones offering more kind of solutions in that sense, I think they're gonna be the ones succeeding the more.
It's very interesting because you talk about customer experience, and we've asked this question to quite a few people. Sami Skaf, the Chief Digital Officer of El Nabuda, who we work with here, they manage VW, Audi, they have McLaren. They also were talking about customer experience, but even like how a connected car is going to be able to talk to a dealership and offer a better customer experience. And then in another instance, it was about maybe like a shared ecosystem that we were talking to a guest about. Okay, so it's all, what's interesting is you kind of encompassed it with customer experience. And I think that is the trend, right? It's responding to the customers, understanding what their needs are, but everyone is kind of looking at it from a different angle. You know what I mean?
I think the challenge is kind of balancing, offering that super, like, amazing, great customer experience, and at the same time making revenue and making profits, right? Yeah, 100%. That's the challenge they're facing, I think, now. And that's why sometimes, going back to the AI, like, they convince they need to do something with AI, but they need to be trained, or they need to be, like, briefed a bit on how exactly or where exactly they need to bring the AI on, right? So one of the questions we normally get from dealers is, we know we need to put AI, in the core business we do, right? But can you help us even just telling what you're planning to do with AI. What's the suite of solutions you're planning to have? Because we want to understand if that's going to be covering enough everything we have and the main priorities we have, and it's going to be helping us, following the journey we want to follow. So on that, I think we need to be more, again, educational with them on try guide them through the journey.
I mean, I think there's so many applications as well. Like, not only us, we have different products across our suite, all that are looking towards digitization. We talk about customer experience, but there's so many different touch points to this. We talk about profitability and maximizing that. There's also a lot of different touch points to this, right? Like, even a business understanding where it's extracting customers. Is it extracting it from after sales? Is it from the initial sale? Where is that value actually coming in? And then augmenting that with AI is definitely a trend that we're looking at, or at least that we're looking at in the future, right? In terms of what we can develop to make sure that we can maximize that value.
Retaining the customer, I think, is the main goal ultimately. I mean, you get a customer because you sell a car to them, but you're not making sometimes any money on that, or very, very, very low money on that, right? But retaining that customer and making sure they stay with you when the car is 3 years old, when the car is 5 years old, when the car is 10 years old, right? Because obviously, the older is the car, especially in some market in Europe, people they stay with the same car for 10 to 15 years, right? So when they have
brand
the car,
loyalty as well, then
exactly.
The next car you buy, or who you tell your friends, and
economical situation in different markets in Europe, especially, it's difficult sometimes. So people, they cannot afford like changing cars every 5 years, like they do in Germany, for instance, right? Or they do in the UK. So kind of having the ability to make sure that customer is going to come to your workshop when their car is 10 years old. So they kind of willingness to pay for the official showroom or the official dealer to actually do the service appointment with them or the workshop appointment with them. It's not the same when the car is 5 years old than when the car is 15 years old, 100%. Right? So I think they're working, and that's something they've been doing for the past 5 to 7 years probably. They've been working on not just retaining customers at the beginning of the funnel or the relationship with them, but also working for those customers which are more likely to leave them, right? Because they're not taking that care of the car anymore, and they don't mind about the car anymore, or not that much, right? That's one of the main challenges, because that's revenue at the end of the day anyway, right? So they need to care about it.
100%. There's value across the chain. So I think we're going to move towards our next segment. So for our next section, we have this Q&A drive-by. We've introduced it in the last couple of episodes, just to keep it light, like a new fun little section. So we're gonna have our little car come in and introduce. You get to choose a question. Sounds good?
Go for it.
We have a new driver behind the wheel, but I think we're good. The new driver did a great job. Go ahead. Feel free to pick a question. Yeah. Everyone picks pink.
I don't know why. It's a different one. So, if you could have dinner with any 3 individuals, dead or alive, who will it be and why? Oh wow, this is a difficult one.
Yeah.
And it could be, I mean, from any industry, Okay. So I think probably one of the individuals I would take is Kobe Bryant. Obviously he's not with us anymore, but I think he used to play basketball. And I think from a mentality perspective, he was very different and very unique. I know Michael Jordan as well. He was quite unique, but I don't know why. I think like Kobe kind of took it to another level as well, and I think he would be really interesting to speak to. Yeah.
In his eulogy, one of the players said that when he was on Team USA, one of the players wanted to Chris Bosh wanted to get there early so that he can set the tone for the team. So he goes down at 5:30 a.m. to be the first one to practice, and he finds Kobe there already done with his first practice. So yeah, that Mamba mentality.
Crazy mentality. Yeah. So 2 more.
Go for it.
That's a classic one, I think. But from a more entrepreneurial kind of company kind of perspective, I would probably pick up Steve Jobs.
Very interesting. I was thinking Steve Jobs.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know everyone probably would say that, but I think he was also very unique in the way he kind of faced business and building what he actually did. And I think he was also a unique personality, right? So I would probably pick him up as well. Very interesting one. And the next one, or the last one, would be probably I think it's very common now these days. It's on the news and all that stuff. Elon Musk. Because I think he mixes up like business, but also like political stuff.
Controversial one, you know.
It's
He
controversial.
was one of like my favorites. Would definitely be at the top of the list before, but now this is so controversial.
It's more like you trying to understand what he's doing.
There's definitely something there, right?
Yeah. So that would be an interesting one. Yeah.
Very interesting. No, I think, and by the way, I say this like we're gonna be talking about him in years to come.
100%.
In one way or another. Hopefully a positive one. We'll see how Elon does.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's why I would like to have dinner with him to try and understand if it's gonna be positive or not.
Yeah. Interesting. So I'm gonna do a question just to make this interesting. If you could change your name to anything, what would you choose?
Seezar.
Julius.
Julius.
No, I'm actually very happy with my name. You know, my parents were thinking of 2 different names. I'm very glad they went with Jad, which, by the way, for those who don't know, comes from.
I've always felt like I could not be named any other way than David. I don't know why. Like it's I was born with this name, right? So I could not change it. Honestly, like it's part of my personality. It's part of me already. So.
I'm proud of my name. So.
Yeah, I would not be the same person I am without that name.
I agree. So can I change it to the same name? It would still be Jad. I do have like gamer nicknames and stuff like that, but those aren't
not the same
on this podcast.
Yeah.
Don't want to get doxxed. But yeah, very interesting stuff. So I think you can put your question back, and then we can drive the car away and thank our new driver for today. So that's the Q&A drive-by. There we go. Thank you very much, new driver.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Seezoned Crew. This was building an AI virtual assistant, a sales perspective. Please, if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave us a like. Please follow the page, subscribe. Please do leave us a comment down below. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them on our next podcast. What topics are you interested in? We'd love to also bring those up. We have a couple of interesting people coming in the next few episodes as well. Some are internal, some are different format, different discussion format, and some are external from outside of the company. So we're just trying to add value, and any comments that you have and input on that would really be appreciated. Thank you for making it all the way here, and see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.